And Stephen Carroll is here from our business desk. Welcome, Stephen. Let's take a start in the United States, where Janet Yellen has given the markets something to be pleased about.
Yeah, they're calling it the Yellen Effect. Janet Yellen, of course, set to become the new head of America's central bank, the Federal Reserve. Speaking to a US Senate committee, she indicated that she would continue the existing policies of stimulus that her predecessor, Ben Bernanke, has put in place. The Federal Reserve is pumping some $85 billion into the American economy every month by buying bonds. She said that America's recovery isn't strong enough for the Fed to start reining in spending just yet.
Employment is down from a peak of 10%, but at 7.3% in October, it is still too high, reflecting a labor market and economy performing far short of their potential. A strong recovery will ultimately enable the Fed to reduce its monetary accommodation.
Certainly the markets had plenty to be cheered by Janet Yellen saying that she would keep that approach of the Federal Reserve. Let's take a look at how much cheer that spilled over into Europe in trading this morning. The European markets opening just in the green. Paris, the only red spot on the horizon, opening just down slightly. This, of course, as the investors please that the Federal Reserve is going to continue with that policy. Here in Paris, shares in the French defence group Safran are down over 3%, though, as the French government announced it's selling up to 4.7% of its stake in the company for around 900 million euros. This, of course, part of an ongoing plan here in France to sell off public holdings in companies to raise much needed funds. Now, that lead from Wall Street, the record highs we saw on Thursday, helped Asian markets too. As you can see, all of the Asian markets significantly up in trading this Friday. The Nikkei hitting a 6-month high, closing up 1.95%.
To Brussels next, where the Eurozone had a double dose of good news on Thursday.
Yes, not only did Ireland say that it would exit its bailout without a much-needed credit line, Spain also says it's going to leave its bailout programme. This is the emergency funding for its banks in early next year. Now, Spain took 41 billion euros worth of EU money to rescue a number of its banks last year. They'd been crippled by the collapse in Spanish property prices. The government says their situation has now stabilised. A mixed picture, though, on the share markets this morning. CaixaBank opening up over 2%. Still waiting for the price on Bankia.
Time to take us through some of the day's companies news now.
Yeah, we're starting in the United States, where the ratings agency Moody has downgraded 4 of America's biggest banks. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs and BNY Mellon all had their debt rating cut by 1 notch. Moody says it's because the US government now looks less likely to bail out the firms if they fail. Britain's second largest bank, Barclays, is to shed 1,700 jobs, or 5% of its workforce. The lender says it hopes to make the cuts through voluntary redundancies. Unions say the plan to reduce branch staff is a colossal mistake. Shares in the bank opened up around 0.6% in London this morning. And Google has won a long-running legal battle to make more books available online. A federal judge rejected a claim that the internet giant was violating copyright laws by scanning books without authors' permission. Google successfully argued that it was making fair use of the literature by offering snippets online.
And here in France now, a new method French employers are using to attract staff.
Yeah, well, unemployment in France is still very high, 10.9% according to the most recent figures. Some French companies are still having difficulty recruiting staff. A growing trend they're using to attract the best and the brightest is to offer accommodation on site for those who perhaps aren't offering the most competitive of salaries. As Will Hildebrandt now explains, for some, there's no place like work.
In the middle of the French countryside, Axon Cable, a company specialized in high-tech wiring, has found a way to fight the rural brain drain by letting young engineers rent a bedroom for just 150 euros a month, smack dab on the company grounds.
Voilà.
So it's nothing special, just a bed, a wardrobe. I moved in a few months ago and plan on staying until the end of the year.
Boss Joseph Puzo says the idea transformed the company. Over the past 20 years, Axon Cable grew from a staff of 150 to 650 people.
I don't think we could have ever hired as many engineers as we have in a small town like this if we didn't have this system in place.
Christophe Anger takes advantage of a similar offer. He works at the supermarket Leclerc and lives just a stone's throw away. For less than 600 euros per month, he and his girlfriend have a 70 square meter apartment. They've lived here for 2 years, and the couple says a cheap rent has helped them save much of their combined monthly income of 2,200 euros.
We're not planning on staying here 10 years or anything. It just lets us put some money aside.
And then maybe go into business for ourselves.
The majority of Christoph's colleagues also take advantage of the deal, a deal that keeps the shelves stocked and the staff happy.
Finally, it's a big day for PlayStation fans in the United States, at least.
Yes, the lucky people in the US are the first to get their hands on the PlayStation 4. Went on sale just over 3 hours ago now in New York at midnight. There were people queuing up all day yesterday, as we can see the queues there in New York outside the Best Buy store. Now, this PS4 will be competing with Microsoft's Xbox One, which is being launched next week. That's the two major competitors for the games market this Christmas. Sony really needs a win, though. It had to slash its earnings forecast earlier this month because of poor sales in its other divisions. So it's hoping that the PlayStation 4 will be what will bring its best Christmas present.
All right. Thank you, Stephen Carroll. That was business.